Welcome back to Discipleship Academy. Time for another module. Before I begin talking about what's in this module, what spiritual gift we're going to talk about, I want to begin by sharing something from my past. As a child, we lived near the Washington, D.C. area, and so it was not uncommon for us to make day trips to go down to visit the various monuments, to go to the museums, and even with school trips to go visit the Capitol, etc. Every time we went to Washington, D.C., especially in certain times of the year, there was always a large number of international visitors, international tourists. And as we would walk around the various monuments and go through the museums, I would hear people talking in their languages. And I was always curious to know what they were saying. I was always intrigued by the way different languages sounded and who was speaking those languages. I myself come from a family where we had Swedish immigrants. They never spoke their language in our presence, but their accent was very clear and their mannerism was very obvious. And so these are the things that I observed as a child, and even today, love to hear different languages, love to hear different dialects and accents, even if we're all speaking the same language and that I can understand it. But I really am intrigued by the way different people from different parts of the same country can talk in different ways. Well, this is leading into what this topic is about this time. This time we are talking about the gift, the spiritual gift of tongues and the interpretation of tongues. For many, this is a hotly debated topic, but I hope that by reading this module, you will get a better understanding of what the term means, tongues, when we read it, especially in the New Testament. What's the difference between the tongues that happened on the day of Pentecost and the tongues that are spoken in other parts of the book of Acts? How does that relate to our life in the church today? And what does that mean for the doctrine of the church that I'm currently a part of? So I pray that you would enjoy this. I know that you may already be gifted in this. And if so, I think that this is a lesson that will help you further understand what this gift is really about and what the importance is of not just being able to speak in tongues, but the ability to understand what is spoken in tongues. Going back to what I said is that as my as I related to my children and to my childhood with the visits to Washington, D.C., part of what always fascinated me with the people who were visiting and speaking in their various languages was I was always wondering, what is it they are really saying? Are they saying favorable things about what they see? Are they saying how interesting it is? Are they making observations about us as Americans in this country? I was always wondering what it was that they would be talking about. I realized that most of the time it was probably just as simple as family conversations that we have in amongst ourselves. But so it is with the gifts of tongues. What good is it to have someone speaking in tongues if nobody can interpret the tongues? Nobody can tell you what that is about. And what is the value of that in the churches today? Do we still have it in the church today? And how is the most appropriate way to manage to handle this gift of tongues and the interpretation of tongues in our churches today? And how do we know what to do with the gift that God may have given us in this area of our lives? So click on the email address below, go to the email address below and request your copy of the module. And I pray that you will really get a good understanding of this marvelous and intriguing gift that God has given to the church. Remember the email below. God bless, God keep until we meet again. Amen.